What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Yesterday, a report was published that went over some details for the PlayStation 6, and I know you're really excited to hear about next generation, but this would be good news for, I'm sure, many people out there who have the disc-based PlayStation 5, and we'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Hollow Knight Silksong, as some of the first reviews are coming in, and I'm just waiting for the first publication to come in and give it a 7 and see how that goes over online based on the current score. And we'll also be talking about Nintendo, where else, but in the courtroom this time, taking on the Mig Switch, and the results are probably what you're expecting. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or link in the description down below. And we're going to start today with Star Wars Outlaws on the Switch 2. And that's been a very impressive port, as just about everyone online who's picked it up is saying, okay, this might be like the high bar right now in terms of bringing a large game like that with ray tracing over to the system. And it appears that Ubisoft is continuing to work on it because a patch just went live yesterday. You can see the notes here over on their website. And the big one I wanted to see is if they did anything when it came to the visuals, because while it looks good, there are some things that I had pointed out in my video that were noticeable. For example, pop-in. Well, the first bullet point saying improvements made to visual quality of moving quickly through the world or using binoculars with less pop-in. All right, so there we go. Driving around on the speeder, it was pretty obvious, and it became apparently more obvious the further into the game you went, according to Digital Foundry. I loaded up a save file that was 18 hours in, and I could see it pretty quickly. Reduced flickering with smoke and lighting, improved shadows at the edge of the screen when moving in cities and stations, improved quality of leaves, cloth, and other things that let light through, and various other small visual fixes and improvements. There are further improvements here with camera, UI, and some just general gameplay, but Star Wars Outlaws done well for Ubisoft there on the eShop. It's been up as high, I saw, as like number 2 or 3. So people are buying into it, and it's good to see that they continue to make improvements on, again, from a technical standpoint, what is a very impressive Switch 2 port. Also, Konami did share some sales numbers for Metal Gear Solid Delta. This we can see on the official Metal Gear account, where they say Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is celebrating 1 million copies sold globally. Our heartfelt thanks for the constant support and enthusiasm of Metal Gear fans, both new and returning. It's important to note that this 1 million milestone was reached August 28th, so as soon as the game came out, essentially, there you go, 1 million copies sold. I'm sure they had so many pre-orders and preloads and stuff, they were ready to make that announcement just about right away. But it is good to see this, because what I would like to happen here is they go on and they remake Metal Gear Solid 1. That is, to me, the obvious game that needs a remake. Now, I know we had Twin Snakes, but there are things there that people point out as like some things kind of mechanics from Metal Gear Solid 2 that can break the game for Metal Gear Solid 1 would need a do-over, essentially, for it. And I think it'd be cool to see that get done, and then who knows, maybe they go, hey, it's working, let's go remake Metal Gear Solid 2 and just keep the ball rolling. But at least for now, it appears Metal Gear Solid Delta has done well here out of the gate. Here's hoping they can come back around with some updates and patches to help smooth out that performance next. Oh, and we are going to be talking about Silksong reviews a little later in the show, but there was something else that was spotted. This we can see over on Deserto. It says Hollow Knight Silksong players have discovered, get this, a cheat code. Wow, what are those? That unlocks the hardest difficulty in the game. You enter up, down, left, right in the extras menu, and you unlock what's called Steel Soul mode. And really, this is just permadeath. So if you start the game up here, you have to then complete it without dying, or your save file gets erased. So when you find a bench, it doesn't save your spot there, or it doesn't respawn you there. I guess if you have to turn it off, I guess it would then allow you to pick right back up from that bench. But really, you die, that's it. And the game is already pretty difficult, so that'll be one of those modes you go through and you can just say, oh, that's it, you put on your gamer card, because I didn't see a trophy or anything for it. There was one I was looking at for 100% completion in a certain amount of time, and now, for me, now the time's ticking. It's like, can I actually get that done? I don't know. I mean, I'm rolling through it well enough, I feel like, but this is one of those games where I think there's going to be a spot you kind of feel like the game's wrapping up, and then it just throws a whole like a whole other thing at you, a whole curveball, and you're still going through a bunch of bosses. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the PlayStation 6 that many people out there cannot wait to get to. I mean, the PS5, it's had its time. It's gotten plenty of games and exclusives and stuff, and now people are they're ready to go for the next year. Okay, so clearly I see the comment section and people go, oh, the PS5 just got here. It's like, well, technically we're wrapping up the 5th year for the PlayStation 5. And look, I get it. I mean, time flies quickly. But if you go back in time to when we were talking about the PlayStation 4, when that rumor started up, and then the PlayStation 5 started having reports hit the internet, is around this time in that life cycle, if you launch a line of these things, generally around that 5th year wrapping up, you start to hear about this stuff. So like with the PS4, it was 2011, and then with the PS5, it was around 2018. So we're right there. It makes sense, but this generation has been very weird because it started out in a pandemic, and things kind of then just lagged behind with supply chain, and it feels like you're starting to get things really going over the last year or two. But still, it does make you wonder, could this generation go to 2029 or 2030 and people wouldn't feel it as much as they did, say, with the PS3 and the 360 generation? That one felt like it went on forever back then. But let's talk about this PlayStation 6 system that currently in development at Sony, go figure. But this is coming from way of insider gaming. We can see over on their website where they say, identical to the PlayStation 5 and its detachable disk drive, customers will be able to buy the console individually as a digital console, bundled with the PlayStation 6 as a traditional console, or upgrade later by purchasing the detachable disk drive separately. So it will be mirroring what we have right now, as they say, with the PlayStation 5. This is good news to hear that they are going to continue on with a disk drive to take physical games. I say they kind of need to, because I still think there are enough people out there who are buying PlayStation 5 games and still have their library of PS4 games to where they have to provide some kind of solution. My question would be, is this going to be attached to the system? And it appears to be, just based on what's being reported here. I figured it'd be a cable, like a USB-C cable, like external drive looking thing that you might buy on Amazon for your PC, something like that. It's not elegant or anything, but it's there and functional. Now, it seems like it might still be very similar to how we have the PS5, where you take one side faceplate off, snap it on, and it just looks like this massive like bulge on the side of your PS5. They want to say, according to one source, unless things are changed at the last minute, PlayStation is firm on the decision because the disk drive for the PlayStation 5 hit all the company's internal targets. It looks like there are more people out there who are buying physical games than maybe some of the reports are letting on, as that a lot of time ends up being revenue-based for digital versus physical, and it's hard to compete with the digital sphere of free-to-play games and stuff with all the money that comes in there. They go on to say, rumblings suggest that this time around, the PlayStation 6 will have a much simpler design than its predecessor to maximize efficiency, shipping space, weight, and so on. I mean, that's where we are at this time. The PS5, it's a weird shape. We know that. It looks like no other console that's ever existed. So because of that, yeah, you have to do some weird, funny business to get it into a box correctly. They have like those egg carton things on the sides, but it ends up going in a box that has also a lot of just unused space. It's just very empty space in there. So if they go back to something like the PlayStation 4, they probably can make that box smaller, and that's kind of what I figure we're going to see, as they're mentioning. Closer to a PS4 design of maybe a couple of like strange edges here and there to just give it just enough of that PlayStation look. But I mean, the PlayStation 5, I think it looks okay. I like the look of the PS4 more personally, and definitely the PS2. PS3 is also, I think, a very, very nice looking system. It just got scratched up a lot. So I'd be curious to see what they can come up with when they try to maybe pull back a bit on some of the curves and the craziness they did with the PS5. And yes, this way, to save storage and box space, they can ship more, say, in one pallet, but also just to see what their more modern take would be on the PlayStation 4, how that came out in 2013. What would their new take be, say, 14 years later in 2017? Maybe 15 years, we'll say, in 2028. That's still where I think this is going to end up. The PS6 in 2028. Maybe they're planning 2027, but we know how this goes. Usually there's internal things being missed here and there, manufacturing, and then pushing it back 6 or 7 months, and then here we are, holiday 2028. Next up, let's talk about Hollow Knight Silksong, as we are seeing early reviews coming. I say early reviews, I mean the game's out, but these are reviews where clearly they got it on release and they are just like mainlining this thing. They're doing as much as they can, I'm sure, but they also want to be some of the first reviews out there. So, I mean, maybe they're just hanging out, spending all day playing it, and they log 30 hours in a couple of days or something. But these are the first reviews that we're seeing coming in now, and we can see this over on OpenCritic. Now, these are spread across multiple different platforms over on Metacritic, so it's kind of difficult to put them all together that way. So we'll take a look at OpenCritic for now, where you can see it's currently sitting, get this, at a 100. Now, there is a 98 out of 100 in there, game 8. Maybe they're rounding up because this would end up being like 99.7 or 0.8 or something like that when you average it out. So that's fine. But yeah, Hollow Knight Silksong on 9 reviews. Okay, again, 9 reviews. I'm expecting many, many more than that, just based on the sales for it, the popularity around this game, all the buzz. I'm thinking we'll be closer, I mean, maybe even 80, 90, 100 reviews. It's going to be many, many reviews though, okay? So it's not going to stay at 100. Someone will come in with the 90, an 80. I'm wondering who comes in with the 7 though. Who is going to make their mark and say, nope, I'm the person who gave it a 7 for this publication? Because look, if the person feels that way, they feel that way. But you do always wonder when you see that one outlier review come in, it's like, are they doing that on purpose? Or I think Hollow Knight Silksong is going to be in the, I'll say, mid to low 90s. All right, like a 93 or a 94 is probably where it'll settle. And yeah, that would place it, as I think many people are expecting it to be, in that game of the year conversation at the end of the year. So hey, Hollow Knight Silksong off and running here. I'll keep an eye on the reviews. When we start seeing things like Metacritic pop up, that usually means we have enough reviews to kind of revisit it and see where we are after kind of the dust settles and more numbers, we'll say, on the scale come in. Just looking for that 7 to see who's really going to do it. Next up, let's talk about Nintendo in the courtroom as expected. It's their second home. And here they're going up against a distributor for the Mig Switch, which we've talked about that a couple of times. I even dropped it into a Switch 2 to see what would happen. And while it didn't really work correctly, that Switch 2 still not banned. That said, I'm about to talk about Nintendo annihilating someone in court over the Mig Switch, and people have said that their system is banned after using it, so I should probably go check it after recording this. Anyway, let's take a look. This we can see is over on IGN, because I want to give you a bit of a refresher around this one, since there is quite a backstory here and some interesting decisions that were made by the defendant. We can see this is over on IGN. This is from last year, saying the gaming giant reached out to Ryan Daly, there we go, in March 2024. According to the suit, and both parties agreed that modded hardware's business would stop. So the idea here is Nintendo showed up and said, look, you're selling Mig Switches, you're distributing them here in the US. We don't really want that, okay? We have a whole thing going on with the Mig Switch right now. We're looking into it, and you using technically our branding and our system and stuff, we don't want that. Go ahead and stop. Okay. After that, it continued to operate as normal, however, and a final warning in May 2024 allegedly didn't go anywhere either. So Nintendo has tried to warn this person twice, all right? As a result, Nintendo filed a lawsuit with a federal court in Seattle, Washington, seeking an immediate closure of modded hardware and damages. Okay, so the person's been warned twice, and you figure if Nintendo shows up with, we'll say, the legal means to put you through the ringer in the courtroom, they have the lawyers, they have the money, they have the know-how at this point, they have the experience. You'd go, maybe that's not the hill I want to die on for the 50 or 60 orders I have for the Mig Switch. I know the Mig Switch gets talked about here and there as like, oh, everyone, a couple hundred of them have probably sold total, let's be real. So when I look at that, I go, that's probably not really worth a fight to be had there. Instead, it appears the person not only went to court, but they went to court by themselves, so they didn't hire a lawyer or anything. They represented themselves, which is a strategy. So what do you think happened? Well, we can see this over on Nintendo Life. Updated on September 5th, 2025, the court document confirms that Daly is required to pay Nintendo a total of $2 million in damages. Yes, Nintendo won, go figure. In addition, a permanent injunction has been entered against Daly, preventing him from engaging in any activities that might be linked to the selling, marketing, or promotion of piracy devices such as Mig Switch and Mig Dumper. They also point out a key segment in the document that says defendants' conduct has caused NOA, Nintendo of America, significant irreparable harm. Yeah, is Nintendo being dramatic here? Yes, but they're also trying to win a court case, which is something you would know if you're there defending it, if you have a lawyer saying, for example, the Mig devices, mod chips, hack consoles, and circumvention services allow members of the public to create, distribute, and play pirated Nintendo games on a massive scale. Thus, the Mig devices, mod chips, hack consoles, and circumvention services harm NOA's goodwill, detract from NOA's consumer base, and enable widespread illegal and difficult to detect copying. I will say, whenever I see the Mig Switch topic come up online in different threads, people go, where can I download games? It's all the time too. And people on the subreddit are like, hey, stop asking that, okay? Yeah, a lot of people I'm sure out there, if you have a Mig Switch, you're searching up. There's a massive zipped file of a bunch of these games being dumped and then just dropped online. The thing with that, as I've discussed many times, you have an individual certificate for each game. So if multiple of that same certificate pop up online, it's going to get your console banned because yes, you're using at that time an illegal dump of it. The problem has been what happens if a person grabs used games, dumps them, resells them, puts them back out on the market, and you're just there by happenstance buying that used game again. That's the problem. So Nintendo, they could probably spun it that way too. Hey, we're trying to protect our customer base. It might also be in there at this point. Again, this is the experience Nintendo has in the courtroom and why it's probably a good idea to hire a lawyer. I mean, they got a full they got the cease and desist. They got the restraining order against this person for Nintendo devices. It's crazy how much stuff happened here, but there you go. If Nintendo knocks not once, twice, but 3 times and is like, hey, can you stop selling that system that people are using to download illegal copies and play on our Switch? Just maybe cut that out a bit. Maybe you listen to them. Or hey, maybe you at least hire a lawyer and see what they have to say. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Tokyo Game Show, which is coming up here in a few weeks, and Microsoft, as they have announced their time for streaming the event, which we can see this over on news.xbox.com. And they say it will happen Thursday, September 25th at 7 p.m. Japan Standard Time, 3 a.m. Pacific, or 6 a.m. Eastern. That's what happens when it comes to the Tokyo Game Show. A lot of it happens, say, overnight or very, very early in the morning. So if they have something or a company has something in the afternoon in Japan, it'll happen overnight for me. So I'll be covering it the next day or even the following day, depending on how much stuff is out there. But as expected, they do list off things like Ninja Gaiden 4. That should be the last real big push for that game as we head into October. Then also the ROG Xbox Ally, ROG Xbox Ally X, which I think we're still waiting for pricing on that, which sounds crazy, but I hope maybe we'll have it by then. We'll see. They also mention Fallout, Starfield, Doom, and the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion as different features for official merchandise. So they'll have a whole booth there set up, and we'll see what other fun surprises they have in store, because a lot of times they will do Game Pass drops during Tokyo Game Show, or at least just announcements for future stuff with some of their partners there in Japan. And it's always a wild card with Microsoft to see how much money they were willing to spend, say, that year with some of these partners to get their games in, or even, who knows, start publishing deals, as we see with something like Ninja Gaiden 4. You really never know what Phil's planning. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, if you were going to buy a PS6 when it releases, would you spend more money, like $100 extra? I just threw that in there. So let's say it's $500 and $600, just throwing numbers out there for pricing and stuff. But you spend extra money there to have a disk drive equipped. Would you do that? 65% of people say yes. 35% of people say no. I saw a lot of people in the comments, I'm probably going to skip the generation if the prices are ridiculous. And you're right. That's actually going to lead into the comment of the day, because that's also about the PlayStation 6. But for the disk drive side of things, I think there are many people out there, especially people who are on YouTube and stuff, I'd say watching a lot of these shows that are more physical oriented, say for collection. And yeah, I mean, if you have a bunch of PS4 games and now you've accumulated PS5 discs and stuff, you want the one that has the disk drive, because that's where your library is. If you have a digital only library, you probably don't care. It's like, yeah, I'll save some money. I'll get the digital edition. But I am happy to hear that Sony is continuing that trend, because even so, I mean, added functionality as even a Blu-ray player. So maybe you're someone who wants ultra high def Blu-rays, it'll play it there as well. So there is just a lot of functionality, not only from the game side, but also from the media side. And then we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Jordan, who says, we really don't need a PS6 anytime soon. Most of us don't want to spend an extra $1,000 on a TV or monitor for the tech to even take advantage of it. It's literally hurting the game industry to keep chasing the highest possible quality when most people won't be able to afford it or tell the difference. Definitely not tell the difference. I'm going to say that now. I think we're just about there. Like, most people are having a hard time telling the difference between like 60 and 120, 4K and 8K. These are all things that are becoming more and more difficult, as opposed to going from the N64 to the GameCube or the PS1 to the PS2. It was so obvious. The PS2 to the PS3, you could see that as well because we went quote unquote HD. Same with Xbox and Xbox 360. I say quote unquote because we were really dealing with 570p or something like that, and we just upscaled to 1080. But it was there with compatibility, Blu-ray for the PS. There were so many things, so many words getting thrown at you where you're like, okay, I get it. I can see the difference from that consumer level. Now it's just all this other stuff with machine learning and different forms of anti-aliasing and upscaling and AI. And you're okay, what's that going to actually do though for the game? That's kind of the issue we're having, is there is this blockage almost between communication for why this system is awesome, but then how that actually helps out with the games you're playing. So now then when they show up with the system and it's $700 or $800, that's okay, well, I can wait. I got a PS5. It's cool. This is gonna be a long cross-gen for me then. So I think for Sony's angle, they really need to think about the price point, but also how will they market this thing? Because they can talk about ray tracing all day, but you technically have it on the PS5 now, and people aren't really necessarily blown away by it at this point. Not necessarily with the games that have been out there even using it. It can look cool at times, but then other times you're like, what? The ones that have baked in lighting actually look better? So it's going to be interesting. Very curious to see what other surprises, we'll say, Sony could have up their sleeve for the PS6. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe hear more about how the game keycard situation for the Switch 2 has gotten a bit more complicated because of, get this, Star Wars Outlaws. I'll leave that in the video right below it. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.